So our opening hymn this morning is God Speaks Today by Amanda Udis Kessler. And feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but please with a mask on. Please stand in body or spirit as you're able and join us in singing the hymn, God Speak Today. Thank you for joining us here in person, those of you who were able to find parking, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where you don't have to worry about parking. We'll continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Steve Fuji, a member of the Church Board of Trustees, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the worship committee you will hear from include Alec Peck, who will be singing our hymns. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and please with muted electronic devices. We invite you to leave your worries and defenses at the door and trust that what happens in worship is inspiring and powerful. Together we affirm that this day and our being together make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser as we begin a new day and a new week. Although our doors are open, the pandemic is not over, so while we are in the sanctuary, please keep your masks on and socially distance, which is not a problem with all the space we have in our beautiful sanctuary. And now, I invite you to sit back, take a slow, deep breath as we move into our worship hour. The mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Reverend Victoria Bomberry, PhD, is the Minister of Transformation at the Riverside Center for Spiritual Living and the Spiritual Director of Winged Spirit Focus Ministry. She serves as the Vice Chair of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee of Centers for Spiritual Living. She is part of the team at Spiritual Enlightenment and Truth Focus Ministry, where she leads a Power of 8 group that has been active for 6 years. She appears on New Thought Media Network's Science of Mind and Spirit lecture series. She completed her ministerial studies at Holmes Institute. She received her PhD in Modern Thought and Literature from Stanford University. exploring and developing ways that Riverside Center for Spiritual Living can serve the world, teaching, working with individuals and small groups are her passions. She has more than 45 years of teaching experience, including the California State University and University of California systems and private universities, in local CSLs, Native American communities, and currently at Holmes Institute. She is retired from the UC system. Her ministry focuses on peace and the joy that accompanies it through inspired service. Today's sermon is entitled, Welcome to the Temple. The body is the one thing in this world which is completely and intimately ours. Rather than engaging in a spirituality that denies the body, we can move closer to an experience of God here and now by fully engaging with the body. Our bodies are magnificent and magical conduits between God and our individual consciousness, and ought to be celebrated for the way they allow us to experience the world in which we live. All bodies are good bodies, and the bodies offer a direct and clean path to the divine experience, if we allow it. By loving the body, using it to connect to our minds and hearts, and listening to its wisdom, we celebrate its magnificence and awaken to this everyday wonder. So we have two lightings of sacred flames in our church here. The first is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original peoples of this land, and continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. The spot we occupy was first the sacred space of the several groups of indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Copeño, and the Serrano. While we, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light the sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy space. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's reading of the chalice lighting is by Christine Robinson. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. Thank you, Bill. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak up in front of others, so I will now ask for a volunteer from someone who has been here a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. We ask you to step close to our mic. Do we have a mic for? Oh, okay. It'll be brought to you. And speak into it directly and clearly so everyone can hear. So do I have a volunteer? If nobody volunteers, I have to do it. All right, so you get tired of hearing me from me. So my name is Steve Fuji, and I was actually raised spiritually eclectic somewhat, being involved in different churches, but was confirmed in the Lutheran church. But my mother went on a path of spiritual exploration when I was growing up and concluded that you don't have to follow one particular religion if you don't agree with it. You could take the best or what you like from all of them. So I went on my own spiritual search as an adult and came to the same conclusion, but I wanted to be a part or a member of something, of a spiritual community. And I wish there was a church that allowed for having an eclectic kind of spirituality. And I realized that there was such a place with the Unitarian Universalist, or actually Universalist Unitarian Church. There's a reason why ours is reversed, but we won't get into that. But anyway, so when I moved to Riverside, California, I actually moved to Riverside, California because I found this church and wanted to be a part of it. So that's how I ended up here. And just try and get rid of me now. Though I have been involved with the Center for Spiritual Living too. That would have been another place I joined. Okay, so now We want to, that's how it's done, more or less. So if you're new here, a visitor or an old friend, please raise your hand to stand and come to the mic in front of the pulpit, or no, it's not, Bill will bring it to you. If there's someone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand on the Zoom function and we'll call you on Zoom. So please let us know who you are, where you're from, and how you found out about us. Any new people here that would like to? Okay, over there. Bill?
Good morning, everyone. We're not new, but since no one raised their hand, I said, why not? So we found out the church a long time ago when we first moved to Riverside, and then the pandemic happened, so we weren't coming as much. My name is Myra, and this is my husband, Hakan, and we just wanted a community that we can just feel at home with, and just kind of not just follow one religion, but just learn from all of them. And that fulfilled us. So here we are, even though we're a little late. But that's how we found out here. We're back.
Well, welcome and thank you for coming back. We hope you will feel at home here and continue to feel at home. And for any other new guests, please join us. Oh, is anybody on Zoom? Usually isn't. Sometimes there is. No, okay. So please join us for socializing and coffee hour after the service. And I believe we're having the first Sunday lunch today. It looks like they're, no? Oh, look like they're setting up for ice cream. All right, well, so join us for ice cream social. So we'd love to chat with you and get to know you better. And please also find our visitors book out there and leave your name before you leave so that we know you were here, and leave your contact information. If you want to know more about upcoming events, for those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. And that information will be put up on a slide later, so you don't have to write it down now. Now, there are a few announcements we'd like to share. During the service, we'll mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers at the end of the service. Okay, I just said that. It'll be on the slide at the end of the service, and also it's on our website. So the monthly UUCR newsletter comes out the first of every month by email and per request by postal mail, aka snail mail. If you have something newsworthy or that you would like to contribute, email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. The semi-annual congregational meeting will be held next Sunday on June 12th at noon. A new board will be elected and a financial report will be given. The first Sunday luncheon in June will be moved to June 12th before the congregational meeting. Today, we will ring in the summer with ice cream sundaes after the service. Okay, I should have read that first, huh? We'd like to thank everyone who shared in preparing and contributing to the family barbecue that we enjoyed last Monday. This included the impromptu live band that provided spiritual musical entertainment. We appreciate your participation. Concerned UUs of Riverside, also known as CURE, C-U-U-R, the community outreach arm of the Social and Environmental Justice Committee, will be meeting in the Social Justice Room on the second floor of the annex at 12 noon today. You can find more information on the website under Social and Environmental Justice. It is said that shared joy is a double joy, shared sorrow is half sorrow. On the first Sunday of each month, we share the joys and concerns that we've received from you and which you have collected throughout the month. First, I'm going to read the joys and concerns which were given to us. From Alec, I have a joy that I get to spend time on the East Coast and reconnect with nature outside the desert. I got to feel rain again and hear thunder, and I got to hang out with a couple of deer in the woods until they suddenly noticed me and ran off. Okay, is there anybody here in the sanctuary who would like to speak their joy or concern? Please raise your hand and Bill Casey will come around with the mic. Oh, Bill, you have one? Or, oh, okay. Okay, yeah, that's Bill with the microphone over there. So does anybody have any joys or concerns they want to express? I think I'm supposed to check this book and see if there's anything on here too.
Hi, I'm Tina Friend, and This past week, I was at Las Vegas to celebrate my birthday, my niece's birthday, my great niece's birthday. Many of you know that my sister died in August of last year, and she was the only relative of the two girls except for myself. And so we went back there also to turn in the car that they had loaned us to use since we had the car accident until we got a new one. So that was a joy. We went back there, turned the car in. Their birthdays were on the Monday. My birthday was on Tuesday. We celebrated it. The sorrow is, as soon as we'd all gone out to dinner and everything and had a really good time, and when we returned, we discovered that their big sister, who is an alcoholic addict and an escort in Las Vegas, and is bipolar and schizophrenic, went off of her medication and got arrested and is in jail there for car theft, auto theft. And so the girls, of course, are devastated about what's happened to their big sister. And so that kind of took the sparkle off of our birthdays. But anyway, I've been sending up prayers, and I hope that while she's incarcerated that they're getting her medication, settled and back on, and she will just have to face the consequences, I guess, of her actions.
Thank you, Tinka. Is there anyone else who has joys or concerns? Oh.
Seems like I like to talk. I have a joy. I went to see my parents and my brother and my nephews in Ecuador, because I'm originally from Ecuador, South America. And Hakan didn't go this time, so he was really sad because I got to eat a lot of good food. But it was a very joyful time. I got to see them, spend time with them, and really see how they're doing. And it was sad coming back, leaving them behind, but life continues, and I have Hakan here to help me out deal with that. But overall, it was a joyful, and it was good and bad at the same time. But I'm happy to be back.
It's good to know that life is balanced with joys and concerns. That's part of life. Do we have anybody else or anybody on Zoom with joys or concerns? Oh, okay.
Let's move from behind the crowd.
I'm Doris McDaniel Solomon, and I'm feeling especially joyful to be back at church this morning. Thank you. I've turned 84 and I don't get on the freeways anymore. So today I braved the streets, and except for getting lost about 3 or 4 times, Siri got me here. So that's my joy. My concern is getting back home.
Thank you, and we're all joyful that you're here with us. Adam, do we have one on? Okay.
For folks in the church who can't read what was posted in Zoom, Hannah, who is upstairs in the wiggle room with the kids, posted, she has a joy that she is graduating with honors this Friday. So congratulations, Hannah.
Oh, congratulations. That's quite an accomplishment, especially for a mother with 2 children.
Somewhat a joy, but somewhat diffuse. It's been a rough few years. Between COVID and the other, it's been a rough few years. But in the middle of all this pain that we are going through, there's still people out there quietly learning how to make a better microchip, a better radio, how to cook food easier in more primitive conditions so people don't get burned and fuel doesn't get wasted. Usually this time comes in and I'm pretty much just devastated thinking of the first responders and going at it a different way this time. Not every first response is lifting a building off of a kid. Some responses look like day-to-day business, but we are slowly, creepingly doing good. There are people that have been trapped in dead-end jobs for a long time who are looking around and with the break they got, trying to live a more human and humane life. My joy is that those guys are still there. It's a little bit of a sorrow because it shouldn't be that darn hard, but they are at it. The ball is still in play and there's still room to work. Just less of it. That's my piece.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I'd also like to express my appreciation to Bill Casey because as you sing, this service couldn't happen without him with all the things he does here. So now we place a stone in our water chalice to represent the joys and concerns we have shared with our church community and to recognize those we hold close and have not shared, and we all have those.
Rough, because sometimes we have some rough spots in our life. Who are we kidding? Sometimes it's jagged. Smooth, for the moments where life just suddenly all falls together. And everything is, if not as it should be, it is in a way that makes us smile ear to ear. For people who didn't speak, or for people who couldn't frame their pain or their joy, or for the wideness of the world and the unknowableness of it, and a world that is joyously bigger than we can comprehend.
May we remember those who have spoken, those they have named, and those we hold in silence in our hearts. Our next hymn will be number 1064, 1064 in the gray hymnal, Blue Boat Home. No, from the teal hymnal. That's the modern songs. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but please only with a mask on. Please stand in body and spirit and join us in singing number 1064, Blue Boat Home. This next portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is on the church website and also in the newsletter. And Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater's grocery cards, which we will have in the church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage. Amazon cards are also available. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity, and to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, which is in fact in the gray hymnal. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, but again, please only with the mask on. Please stand in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
Our meditation today is The Church is a Body by Victoria Weinstein, and you get to participate in this one. Please join me in reading the bold italicized lines. The church is a body. May this body breathe and be together in the spirit of hope. May it feel held by comfort. Those who seek consolation, may they find it in the solace of this moment. Nothing's italicized in there. It is as strong as all the people who have ever gathered within its walls. It is the power of all they dreamed and all they have done. It is as vulnerable as the most newborn and untried of its members. It is ancient and it is ever new. Church is a story. It is a story of lives that are interwoven, brought together in this place and this time for the simple purpose of caring for one another, helping one another along the arduous path from birth to death. It is a vision of unity amid diversity. It is a vision of reverence for all creation. It is a vision that beckons us beyond the concerns of our own skins. In the silence, may we abide as one body in the spirit of faith, hope, and love that is the story and the vision of this church. Now let us pause for a moment of silence. So now, what you've all been waiting for, I'd like to introduce Reverend Victoria Bomberry, presenting the sermon, Welcome to the Temple. Here she is.
Estonlo, Chukayadega, Reverend Victoria Bomberry, Chehefka Choki. Good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Victoria Bomberry, and I am an enrolled member of the Muskogee Nation. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. Every time I look at my bio, I think, oh, who is that? So thank you for that. And it's really good to be with you here. I've been to this church one time before when I first moved to Riverside, and I really forgot how lovely your sanctuary is, and your gorgeous stained glass windows, and just the warmth that is here and the history that's here. Today I'm going to do this in two parts. I'm going to give you a mini message that we do at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, and we do in all centers for spiritual living who are following our theme for the year. And we have about 400 or 500 centers located throughout the United States and Canada, and a few scattered internationally. So we are an international movement, and we do follow this theme. Our theme this year is living everyday wonder. And today we're talking about the body. This month we're talking about the body all month. And this particular talk is entitled, Welcome to the Temple. You know, I really have been thinking about how we at Centers for Spiritual Living approach life, and how we approach being in community with one another and supporting one another to realize our spiritual magnificence. And of course, the body is one aspect of this. We all have a body. In my language, we say cha'ina, which means that our body cannot be separated from us. It is our body. No one can take it from us. No one else has the power to enslave us, to take from us. We are our body. We have that. So we have this idea in Centers for Spiritual Living as well, that there is no separation. We say that over and over again. There's no separation between us and the divine. And I think that, like most thought in the West, it's very hard to kind of decouple this deep-seated notion that there is a separation between us and the divine, our bodies and the divine. And you know, it's been an ongoing struggle, I think, in the West to come to terms with wholeness. What we mean by wholeness, that we are integrated. We are body and soul and mind and spirit, all as one. There's no separation there. So that's what we're talking about when we are looking to reveal our spiritual magnificence, because our bodies definitely are an emanation of the divine. And as they are sacred. Now, I think that Indigenous people have this deep knowledge and deep being in holding things sacred, everything around us, the natural world, our bodies, everything that we see it as sacred. And I think that in the West, this has been something that is being relearned, because at one point we were all coming from the earth and having our realizations as they arose from our existence in the earth, right? And, you know, being a part of the cosmos. There never has been a time when we haven't been thinking and exploring these ideas. And we are coming back to that as a global family. You know, the ideas that have kind of creeped in and we've been conditioned by, we're unlearning that at this point. We're unlearning a lot of the things that have been conditioned into us. Now, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Centers for Spiritual Living. Centers for Spiritual Living is a part of the New Thought movement. It's not as old as the Unitarian Universalists. It came into being in the latter part of the 19th century. And people were really exploring, I would think the main emphasis at that time was exploring the relationship to the divine, to the sacred, and to healing. So the body was very important at this point as well. People were, if you remember your history and you know about our medical system that we live with now, the medical system wasn't very well developed in the 19th century. So people relied on all kinds of remedies, and many of them didn't work very well. Let's just put it like that. They didn't work very well. So people in the New Thought movement started exploring, well, what is the relationship between our mind and our body? What is it about mind that affects body? And this happened in the 19th century. We're hearing more about this now, right? We talked about the placebo effect. We have more awareness that our minds do affect our body. But in the 19th century, this was new thought, right? This was a new thought that our minds really could work in tandem to with our bodies to heal them. So our emphasis is what they used to call the mind cure. So if we thought about our bodies as perfection, the perfection of God, we could align with that perfection. And that is a core belief that we have. We do believe in the healing of the body through the mind, through consciousness. And any of you who've ever had an illness, you will remember that if you're kind of upbeat about it, and that doesn't mean you deny it. Let me get that really straight. It doesn't mean you deny it. But if you have an attitude about it that is more hopeful, more optimistic, it does help your healing. And sometimes that healing may not be a bodily healing. It may be a spiritual healing. You know, it just depends. We do go through, you know, periods in our life when we are down and we will become ill. And if we change our thinking about it, we will find ourselves healing much better. We've come out of this incredible, well, we're still in it, but I think we've come through this epidemic with a renewed feeling about how we respond to sickness and illness. And we're learning from it. And I know that there are people who have had COVID, who have come through COVID. There are people who have not come through COVID. But what matters in our philosophy is how we respond to any kind of challenge that we have. And first of all, you know, one of the main things with religious science is we are very dedicated to prayer. We believe in prayer. And we believe that prayer works. And we always say, if, you know, try it. Try it. and see if it works for you. Don't take our word for it. See if it works. And we do a particular kind of prayer that is known as affirmative prayer. And it's not a supplication. It is a clear statement about how we want, what our desire outcome is. So we focus on what we desire, and we are open to receive that desire or more. So it isn't a manipulation. We're not thinking that we can manifest whatever. We are aligning with the sacred, and we are a part of this whole. We're not just, we're an individual, but we are an integral part of the whole. Now, there is so much that goes on around us about our bodies, right? We have kind of an ideal that we're supposed to achieve. If we look around us and all the ads, you would think that, the ideal is to be very thin, to be a certain age, right? To dress a certain way, to have a certain color, right? All of that seems to be the images that we have been brought up with and conditioned by. And of course, we internalize that in some way and believe that we don't live up to it, right? We have discord with our own body. And this is just a state of affairs that we're living with. I think that over the past 30 or 40 years, we've come to a different place with this. There's been a lot of work around this. There's been a lot of work with young girls to say, okay, not everybody has a model body. You're not all going to be very, very thin, right? But it's a struggle, right? All of this takes time, and it takes a deep awareness of who we are. And it takes all of us working together to recognize that there are all kinds of bodies in the world, and they're all good bodies. There's nothing that makes one body more valuable than another. And yet we find ourselves creating a hierarchy of values around our body. And over this past week or so, one of the things that I've noticed people coming to me with is their concern about what they're experiencing in the world around an aging body. And a lot of the people who I've talked to have said, I'm encountering ageism. This is kind of come upon them, right? All at once, they realize there's ageism in the world. And, it comes around employment. It comes around how people view them. It comes around expectations of people who are older, expectations that you're not as good as, right, a younger person. So again, we have all of these isms that we deal with that are very detrimental to how we really come into relationship with our bodies. There is a wonderful, wonderful song. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is a song that Nina Simone did back in the late 60s or early 70s, and it's called Ain't Got No, and it's combined with the body. So it is a song that is taking two songs from the musical Hair and fusing them together. And it is really a wonderful, wonderful anthem because it goes through all these things that she doesn't have. like money, a good place to live, a job, you know, all of those things that are kind of in this hierarchy of success that people have. And then she outlines everything that she does, and it is her body. It is a reclamation of her body and that knowledge that this is what she has, her body, and it's a good body. So if you remember that period of time, it was a time when people were rising up and reclaiming who they were, right? After years of oppression and devaluation. And, you know, that rise has really moved us all forward to examine who we are in this country today. So with Nina Simone and that anthem, there was that reclamation of the body, of who Black people are, and really foregrounding that in such a powerful way. And it became an anthem, and it also became one of those songs that just uplifted the Black liberation movement and all other movements as well. The messages that we send our bodies are definitely coming from the mind, right? If we have internalized those messages that, well, an aging body is not that great. If we've internalized that, then we're going to live that. That's what we will live. That will be where we will focus our attention, instead of focusing our attention on what we have. And I've been thinking a lot about aging the past few years as I age. And what I found is that things are changing, definitely. But there's a lot of things that change and seem like they're in the category of loss. And at the same time, I see myself racking up a lot of things in the category of gain. And if you are fortunate enough to live a long life, what does that equal? That equals that we have a lot of experience. If we've been in the world and we've accepted life as it is, we've garnered a lot of experience in everything. We've garnered experience of joy, just as you did today, the joy. We know what joy is, we've experienced it. And if we've allowed ourselves to really live that, that's in our bank account, right? We can remember it in an instant, and we can recognize our joys as they come forward in the present. So we have all of this. We can also recognize things that we've gone through that have been difficult, right? We can recognize, well, how did I move through that when this happened? If you had a failure, say, in your life, you've lost a job, right? Well, what happened? A lot of people think they live with catastrophe in mind. But if you have experience and wisdom, you know, well, this happened, I lost the job, but I got another one. And life goes on. So you know how you move through it. And you know if you accepted that in a way that was detrimental to you, you know, a lot of people may lose a job and go out and do all kinds of things that are damaging to them, that don't prepare them for the next job. And you will know that. You will know that. That doesn't work for me. I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to repeat that mistake. So you have all of those experiences built up. We have the experience of loss to death. You know, if we reach a certain age, you know, this age is a very poignant and I'm going to say difficult in terms of the sadness that we can feel when we're losing people who have been our friends for years and years. And yet we know how to move through that. And if we are people of faith, we know the eternality of life. We know that life goes on. And we definitely know that love is always present. Love never goes away. Love never dies. And love is what remains with us that allows us to move through to the next place in our lives. So, you know, this focus on age that gets is manifested as ageism in this society really is so misplaced. You know, in indigenous cultures, elders are held in esteem as repositories of history, of culture, of knowledge, of everything. They're like the encyclopedias of the people. So you know, when I'm in a community, and it took me a while to get used to this because I was always used to doing everything, you know, cooking, cleaning, making sure everybody was taken care of, you know, all of that, to suddenly find myself in this place where I'm being escorted to a table of honor. I'm resting. I'm being served as an elder in the community. So it's a completely different kind of vision of who older people are. It is not ageism. It is a recognition of the nobility of the elder. So I can give tons of examples of things that people come to me about that are body related. And for the most part, I think that people believe that their bodies are not good, not enough, for whatever reason. And we want to move toward a place where we have what one writer calls body neutrality. And I like that word because if we're looking at our bodies as just this neutral place, not good, not bad, it just is. And whatever circumstance that comes through is fine. We can handle it as it comes. But to start with, our bodies are not enough. Our bodies are too much. Our bodies are bad. We're already defeated, right? And we are short-circuiting our ability to recognize God in our bodies. And you've heard the term body temple, and I've used welcome to the temple. And you know, if we do think about our bodies as a body temple, that place where the sacred resides, that internal presence that is always there, things change, don't they? Don't they change? Don't we want to make sure that we're presenting the best to our bodies? And I have to admit, I am not always good at this. I actually really do love flaming hot Cheetos. But if we want to present the best to our bodies, we want to take care of them the best that we can. We want to make sure that we do the things that are necessary for our bodies, to care for them, to move our bodies if we're able. And we're always able to move something of our bodies, right? Even if we're seated, we can move something. And oftentimes, this is where the mind is very important. If we can't move, if we even think about the movement, it has an effect on our body. Now that's amazing to me, that we can think about a movement and have an effect on our body. Let's give it a try, okay? How many of you can raise your arms over your head? Great, looking good. You know, one of the things that people can't do oftentimes is raise their arms over their head. I didn't know that, but that is something that happens. Okay, you got the feel of it, right? You raised your arms over your head. Okay, now just close your eyes and imagine yourself raising your arms over your head. And visualize it. Feel the movement. Could you feel it? Yeah, I see people nodding. Yeah, you can feel it. So we can demonstrate it. We can demonstrate how our minds work. Our bodies are also repositories of messages. This has always been an interesting thing to me that, our bodies do have the ability to remember traumatic events. And sometimes when we have a pain, that pain is not a result of an injury. It's the result of a traumatic event that has taken up residence in some part of our body. And some of us have different places where our bodies speak to us. I know that and everybody, this happens to everybody. People have butterflies in their stomach, right? Especially maybe when you're having to speak. I thought you guys were all so brave to take up the microphone because that's one of the biggest fears that people have is speaking in public. And people get butterflies, sweat, right? And, just get really flustered and have memory problems and all kinds of things if they have to speak in public. But this is our body giving us a message, right? It's sending a message. And a lot of times what that message is that you're going to mess up. You're going to flub up in front of everybody. You're going to be embarrassed. You're going to make a fool of yourself. I mean, on and on and on. Just think about all of this that's going on in our minds just over giving one little sentence in front of people. That happens, right? That happens. So our body does give us a message. And if we listen to these messages, we can actually work on those areas that are causing us difficulty. I was talking to someone this past week who was terrified of writing. And the messages that they were giving themselves were all about failure, of being inarticulate. And this was at the same time that she is articulating perfectly her feelings about writing. And this wasn't translating to her as you can do the same thing if you are writing. You can articulate your thoughts as you're thinking them if you're writing. So that kind of phobia was present for her. And these were the messages that she was giving herself. The other thing that comes up with bodies a lot in this culture is around weight, right? And I don't think that people focus so much on thinness as they do on fatness, right? So there is real fat phobia in this culture. And one of the artists that I really love is Lizzo. And she is a big woman and she makes no bones about it, right? She dances beautifully. She has a powerful voice. She dresses incredibly. And she is just out there as who she is. And I think she has backup singers who are called, I think they're called big girls. I can't remember. But they are all big women who are athletic, who have moves that are incredible to watch, who have these bodies that work the way they were designed to work. And I think that that is doing a lot for us to see this kind of diverse body being presented as a good body too, right? A good body. And there are people whose bodies, they're not overeating. They have bodies that are larger than some other bodies. That's just how they are. And if we believe we are not taking care of our bodies and not putting into our bodies what they need, we can also make that change, right? We can change that. This past week, I went to a rally at Adelanto. And Adelanto is a detention center for immigrants that is located about 45 miles north of here around Victorville. And you know, it's just this desolate place in the desert. And there's not very much around it. So it's really kind of out of sight. And yet there are detained immigrants there. They're warehoused there. It's a private detention center. So each person who's there is racking up money for a corporation. And they're not putting that much money into the care of the people. The care is abysmal. It's abysmal. There's inadequate health care. There's inadequate food. The people don't receive enough calories every day, and they're only able to augment that with things like little packaged noodles, but they have to buy that. And if they have no one who is helping them, they can't even do that. So it's a really awful place. So I was there this past week, and I noticed that everyone there was a person of color. Every single person. And they're from everywhere. They're from Asia, Africa, Mexico, Central and South America. And those are the bodies in this culture that we are devaluing. People of color. We're devaluing them. We're getting them out of the way. They're devalued in society, but they have a high value for a corporation in terms of profit. And there is a connection between the detention center and the entire carceral system, the prison system. Sometimes people will end up going through all of these because they've been marginalized so tremendously that they end up either in prison if they get out of detention, or they end up going back to detention and deported. So it's just this horrible, horrible system. And it is based on devaluing certain bodies in the society. Sonia Renee Taylor has a book called The Body is Not an Apology. And it's also doing wonders for how we view bodies, opening new pathways for self-love and love and acceptance of others. So isn't that what we're doing? We're really looking at how we can love ourselves better and how we can love and accept others. Now, with religious science, we put a lot of emphasis on internal work. You know, we believe that we have to do that internal work before we can effectively work in the world. We really, you know, that's something we put a high premium on. And she writes, living in a female body, a Black body, an aging body, a fat body, a body with mental illness is to awaken daily to a planet that expects a certain set of apologies to already live on our tongues. There's a level of not enough or too much sewn into these strands of difference. And that's a powerful statement. And we can take that in, you know, the intersectionalities that are present here to be a person of color, to be a woman, to have an aging body, a fat body, to be mentally ill. If we stack all those things up, those intersections, we have someone who is completely devalued in this society. When we walk out on the street, we see people who are mentally ill all the time. And we walk past them, right? Don't we walk past them? We don't want to engage with them because we're afraid and those bodies are not good enough, or they are often too much. They're loud, they're screaming, they're talking to people who we can't see or entities that we can't see. And it's frightening to us. Instead of us stepping up with an open heart and just acknowledging that presence, acknowledging that God is within this person too. So as we go through this week, let's think about these things. There's the internal work and the external work that we have to undertake. We're living with condemnations of certain bodies, and they are reflected in racism, sexism, ableism, homo and transphobia, ageism, fat phobia, and are supported by all these systems of oppression. And we are the only ones who can dismantle them, right? We're the only ones who can do that. No one's going to do it for us. So we have to take that challenge up. So I just want to read this poem, and I want us to contemplate it and think about it for yourself, but also think about it for everyone that you meet. So just close your eyes and I'll read this poem. The spirit likes to dress up like this: 10 fingers, 10 toes, shoulders, and all the rest. At night in the black branches, in the morning in the blue branches of the world. It could float, of course, but would rather plumb rough matter, airy and shapeless thing. It needs the metaphor of the body, line and appetite, the oceanic fluids. It needs the body's world, instinct, and the imagination, and the dark hug of time, sweetness and tangibility, to be understood, to be more than pure light that burns where no one is. So it enters us in the morning, shines from the brute comfort like a stitch of lightning, and at night it lights up the deep and wondrous drownings of the body like a star. So let's just breathe that. You might notice where that lands in your body. Where does it move you? Or what places does it touch? So this week, let's take time to appreciate our bodies. Notice things that are done without being asked. Just think about that. How many things does our body do that we never ask it to? We don't have to, it just does it. Give thanks for all it does. Be compassionate with your body where it needs a little bit more tender, loving care. take that time. Take the time to give it the care. When you're out and about, notice the variety of bodies that there are. And make no judgments. Don't judge them, just notice them. And lightly note what you see. Let yourself see the divine in each body. So when you're passing, you might see someone who has a halo of light around them, just the way the sun's hitting them. Or you might see a smile that just lights up your day. But just notice it. Don't judge it. Just allow it to enter. No devaluing, just allowing it all to be. And I'll leave you with that this morning as the message. So this is the second part. I'm going to have someone help me with these. So I know we're going to have a little bit of time for questions and answers. So I wanted to read Centers for Spiritual Living, the Global Vision. And that's what you're getting as your handout. We envision all people, all beings, and all life as expressions of God. We see a world in which each and every person live in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other. A world which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We envision humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence and discovering the creative power of thought. A world where each and every person discovers their own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life, a world where this kinship with all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further the emerging global consciousness. We envision a world where each and every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a world in which resources are valued, cared for, and grown, and where there is a generous and continuous sharing of these resources. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. We envision a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. We envision a world that works for everyone and for all of creation. So this is our global vision. And over the past decade, we have been working on this in all of our centers. This is what we see as our global vision. And I know that people may have questions about Centers for Spiritual Living and Religious Science. So I'm just going to open it up. And I think that probably you've noticed many of the same sorts of commonalities with your own congregation and your own principles, right? They're very similar. So I'm open for questions. Yes. We're gonna get a microphone for you.
Here we go.
I just wanted to ask, do you encourage at your center that people get vaccinated?
Encourage people to get vaccinated.
Vaccination, yes.
We are, as our global vision states, we support personal responsibility. So for me, as a minister, I encourage people to do what is best for them. And I'm vaccinated, so definitely, and my family is vaccinated. And at the same time, we do put a high premium on personal responsibility and choice. So that has created kind of some differences within our community, because we do have people who are very, well, how would I say this? Very intent that nothing goes into their bodies that they don't feel comfortable with. And I understand that. But, for myself, I do encourage everyone to do the research, to be thoughtful about it, to do what's best for them, and not to give in to irrational fears or to propaganda or to, just the fear mongering that we live with, right? We have a lot of misinformation that is out there. So I always encourage people to do the research. And that's what our whole philosophy does. Try it. If it works, then it works. If it doesn't, then you know that it doesn't work. So that's our philosophy.
First want to, loud. I want to appreciate your message of giving us agency for self-appraisal of our bodies and recognition of how we appraise others. And say like, as a Black man, I immediately think of the works of Black thought leaders such as Ta-Nehisi Coates' words about Black bodies and exploitation of Black bodies since 1619 that have been used to be against like other bodies to be included, like even poor white bodies. But it's like, it's hard to have that agency for self-appraisal when you have so much going against you, right? You have other religious organizations preaching about the wickedness of the flesh, shaming bodies. And you have right now unprecedented control being taken away from bodies, most notably female bodies from the Supreme Court, and legislation against trans bodies throughout this country. We have constant reminders of how much our bodies are worth to other people, as you noted, about like, ageism, race, gender. It's just like to be able to quiet that, to kind of listen to ourselves. And then also like when the government is being used against our bodies, it's a struggle, right? And just then also just doing that in a way that doesn't lead into a trap of ableism and appreciation for what our bodies are able to do, comparison to what other bodies aren't able to do. But I mean, I appreciate the lesson, but just like, just more encouragement against what we are all up against.
Well, that's all true, right? We know that there's lots of things we don't talk about. We don't talk about history in the United States. It's as if there's no history, that things just appeared like this, right? Where we are right now. And that's the way it is, and that's the way it's always been, and that's the way it always will be. But I think that our job as faith-based people is to do the internal work, to recognize, yes, there are those oppressions out there. Yes, we're here because our ancestors have brought us here, and they did their internal work and external work to make sure that we are present right now. And I think for me, that's what gives me the impetus to go on, right? And I spent my early years, as a community organizer and activist. And then I went into teaching, and then now I'm a minister. But in each area, I find that there are places where we can make interventions. Just being yourself is enough. And to stand up for what you are called to do, whatever that might be. I don't know what all your gifts and talents are, but I know you have tons of them. And, we used to say we're the people that they've been waiting for, our people, right? We are them. So as you move forward, we have to be courageous and stand up for what we believe and what our principles are. And our principles are based in love, and our principles are based in justice for everyone. And our principles at Centers for Spiritual Living is to reveal the spiritual magnificence of everyone. And that's where we have to keep our eyes on, just on that. So I'm not denying it's hard, but that's what makes it worth doing too.
Thank you. So we're running over time, so we need to officially end the service. Thank you so much, Reverend Bomberry, for that. It was very inspirational. And if you're willing to stick around afterwards, if people have additional questions, that they can come up and discuss it with you informally. But this is the end of our official part of the service. Thank you for being here. And please do join us for the ice cream social out in the parish hall. Thank you.